child care providers and to parents and families that we serve. This is truly an economic issue that affects everybody in the community. It's an honor to host this roundtable discussion and like to welcome our distinguished guest, of course, first of all, Governor Josh Shapiro, a governor who's focused on getting stuff done, which we truly appreciate. Last year it was our privilege to host the governor as he signed a bill proposing and it got approved, universal free breakfast for 1.7 million students in Pennsylvania, which was quite a historic investment in public education. Also a warm welcome to Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis and Second Lady Blayre Holmes Davis. Lieutenant Governor used to serve on the YMCA board.
That's right.
Prior to him being elected to the Lieutenant Governor position. Thank you for service. And now, of course, both Austin and Blayre are parents of an 18-month-old baby named Harper, and so this obviously is a very important topic for you all too. And certainly we want to thank Austin for your leadership as co-chair of the Pennsylvania Early Learning Investment Commission.
Thank you.
We'd also like to acknowledge Ken Gormley, president of the Duquesne University, so thank you for being here today. President Gormley, it's a privilege to work with you. We have a shared site here for the Child Care Center, not only serving Duquesne University's faculty and students, but also the community as well. Want to thank you for lending your voices to this important topic, and to the parents, thank you for having faith in us and in taking care of your most precious children. The YMCA, as many of you know, is the largest provider of child care in Allegheny County and in the state of Pennsylvania and in the country. So we have a real stake in child care, in this child care discussion. The Shapiro-Davis budget has some exciting and historic provisions, increasing minimum wage for child care workers, invest in recruitment and retention of child care workers, increasing funding for pre-K counts, and increasing funding for violence intervention and prevention programs, VIP, and building opportunity through out-of-school time boost program. We also want to take a minute to thank you for the $1.5 million allocations to the statewide YMCA for the boost program. You're really making a difference all across the state, so thank you for that. All right, so we'd like to welcome everybody and turn it over to Governor Shapiro to get us started.
Great. Amy, thank you very much. And it is wonderful to be with all of you, wonderful to be with the YMCA. Thank you for the great work you do every day. And to Dr. Gormley and Duquesne University, thanks for being not just an important university here in Pittsburgh, but all across Pennsylvania. We appreciate all that you do. And it's wonderful to have the opportunity to discuss an issue that is so important to me, to our Lieutenant Governor, to our Second Lady, and to so many people all across Pennsylvania, and that is making sure we have affordable, accessible childcare all across Pennsylvania. We know that it is really important for kids to get an amazing start in life. I say that not just as your governor, but as a father of four. We also know that it is critically important for parents to be able to have a safe, reliable place for their kids to go so they can be productive parts of the workforce, or they can be in school, or whatever it is that they choose to do. Our administration has really tried to work at this issue and address some of the challenges here in a multitude of ways. We know that child care costs too darn much for a lot of families, and so working together with a bipartisan coalition, we were able to triple the child care tax credit for families. So families can now write off up to 3 times more than they could before to afford their child care. We also wanted to incentivize businesses to be able to go out and invest in child care for their employees. And so we give those businesses that do that a tax break. We also understand that a child care facility is only as good as the wonderful people working in it. And for too many of them, wages have not been lifted up to the point at which it makes sense for them to go into this wonderful type of care for our most precious assets, our children. And so in this budget, we're now trying to invest more in raising wages and having for the first time ever a $1,000 recruitment and retention bonus for child care workers across Pennsylvania. And by the way, we know that these types of bonuses work. We did it for municipal police officers in our last budget, and we've been able to recruit and retain 700 municipal police officers across Pennsylvania. Obviously a quite different field, but this type of an approach really works. So we're trying to come at the child care issue in a multitude of ways, and I think the approach that we're taking is working, but we've got a lot more work to do, including passing the funding I proposed in this budget. And for that, we wanted to be here today for a dialogue to understand better how this funding would impact you, what else you need, and how we can go about working hard for you and making sure we deliver high-quality, affordable childcare all across Pennsylvania. Now, my wife Lori and I are blessed to be on this journey with two amazing partners, two people you all know very well in this community, Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis and our Second Lady Blayre Holmes Davis. They are our partners. We love working with them and we love leading with them. And this is an issue that I know is critically important to them, not just as LG and Second Lady, but as parents to Harper, who's about 18 months old now. And they'll talk a little bit about their challenges with childcare, but they've really been driving the efforts in our administration on this topic. And it's really wonderful to have them as friends, as partners, and here today to talk about a critically important issue. So I'm going to turn it over to the LG and then the Second Lady, and then look forward to the conversation. Well, LG?
Thank you so much, Governor. It's great to be with you today. Really excited, but I'm extremely excited to be here with Pennsylvania's Second Lady, the First Lady in my life, Blayre. Thank you for taking some time. I like that. To spin on that. Yeah. Thank you for being here with me today. And we have been traveling the Commonwealth talking about the issue of child care. And I'm really excited by the opportunity you gave me to co-chair the Early Learning Investment Commission, where what we call ELIC, but it's a real opportunity to bring together the public and private sectors to talk about what we need to do to address child care issues and early learning here in the Commonwealth. As the Gov and many folks have mentioned, I'm a new dad. My daughter's 18 months, and Blayre and I are able to be here because we have good child care. And it not only makes sure that our daughter has the opportunity to be in a place that is educationally enriching, that is safe, but it really allows us as parents to continue to fulfill our goals, our dreams, and our aspirations. And that's what we are trying to do every day that we go to work in Harrisburg, to make sure that Pennsylvanians have the freedom to chart their own course. They don't have to choose whether to either be a parent or to continue in a career path, that they can do both. And we know having a strong child care workforce is inextricably linked to the success that we see from an economic perspective here in Pennsylvania. Last week, the Second Lady and I were in Blayre County at Sheets. They have a phenomenal child care facility that provides child care to about 85 children in their respective who work for Sheets. One of the things that I asked one of the workers who's a parent who has their kid in childcare was, what does it mean that we're investing more funds in recruitment and retention? And she told me very clearly that it means that she feels valued, that she doesn't have to choose between being a loving parent and pursuing her dreams in a career. I think that's what we're trying to accomplish in this budget, to make sure that we're investing in real people to continue to further their goals. And so Blayre and I have been able to do that as new parents, to continue our work, but we want to make sure that every parent has that opportunity. And not only are they getting an educationally safe environment, but they're also getting a place that's affordable for everyday working Pennsylvanians. And so it's my pleasure to hand it off to my First Lady, Blayre Holmes Davis.
Thank you. Well, very excited to be here today. As Austin said, and as our governor said, this is something that's very personal to Austin and I, but we also know this is very personal for many families across Pennsylvania. Harper, our daughter, has been in daycare for over coming up on 3 months, and we were very lucky to have a village around us to be able to have really good jobs and also paid family leave for her first year. But like many families, we struggled to find affordable and a good childcare facility. And I can remember when I first found out I was pregnant, I was talking to my sorority sisters, and they said, "Oh my gosh, congratulations. Start looking for childcare facilities right now." Because what we found was 1 to 2 year waiting list. But that we know that's not only us, it's many families across Pennsylvania. And so, as I said, Harper is very blessed to have a childcare facility that's close to us where she is being able to learn. We know early learning is very important, especially for young children. But every child and every family across Pennsylvania deserves the same thing. And so, as Austin said, last week we were in Altoona at Sheetz at their corporate headquarters. And one of the moms, she also said something to me that resonated very well. She said, "I want to be able to move forward in my career because I'm competitive." And that resonated with me because of especially my career. I work in football. But as moms, we not only want to be able to take care of our families, but also be able to accomplish our careers too. Austin and I want our daughter to be able to have that. And also we want her to be able to see that she can do anything that she wants to do, that she puts her mind to. And the best way that we can teach our daughters and also other families across Pennsylvania the same thing is to show them. And so that's what we're working to do every single day as parents, as the roles that we're in, to build a more equitable society. And so we're really excited, not only this administration, we're not only here listening to people, but also taking action as well too. And so thank you all so much for your time this afternoon. Thank you all so much for drawing awareness to this issue, but also making sure that every day the work that you do at child care facility, you are pouring into the next generation. So thank you so much for being here this afternoon, and I'll turn it back over to our Gov to get us started.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And I'm looking forward to the conversation. So I think we should just jump right in here. I don't know, I could just like randomly call on folks, or you could jump in. Amanda's like, don't call on me first. But Amanda, tell me how things are going for you as a teacher, as a student here. Tell us kind of what you're seeing out there and what it is that we can do to help.
I've been here for quite some time at the center, so I've seen what it looks like to have full ratios, full staffing, but I've also seen where it's quite lacking. And it's really beneficial to see how these kids benefit when there's structure in rooms, and it helps when there's ratios in the room. So if there's enough teachers for the amount of children in the room, then you're able to make sure that all of the kids are accounted for and everyone's attended to.
And are you seeing, whether it's at the place where you work or elsewhere, those ratios not being met right now?
They are always met, like moving staff around, but for the most part, it would be beneficial to have all of the teachers in the room, if that makes sense.
Do you think this thing that the LG and I proposed to have $1,000 be available to either entice folks to stay or bring new folks into this, is that something you think will help inspire others to go into this great field?
I believe so, and Hannah could speak for this too because she's an education major and she's seen other students drop out of the program because of the pay that they're seeing. So I think it's really beneficial and would help.
Yeah. Hannah, tell us your experience.
I'm Hannah. I have been at the Y for about a year now, fully working there. And I can say the same as Amanda. It's really, you can tell when there is consistency in the classrooms and when you're able to form those connections. I've been consistently in a classroom because we've had more staffing. I've been able to consistently be in one classroom for about 2 months now, and it's the changes I've seen not only in myself, in the relationships I've made, but also the community in the classroom and what you can do in the classroom when you have consistency, especially with the older kids who are going to be moving. They need that consistency to keep them steady throughout the rest of their education.
And Stephanie, you must feel that as a mom, right? When you drop your kids or kid? I know you have
Kids,
two, but
plural.
drop them both off there.
Yeah.
What's it like for you as a parent showing up and seeing wonderful people like Amanda and Hannah there?
It's wonderful to see them. It's more wonderful to hear the stories from especially my 4.5-year-old when she gets home and tells me all of the amazing, fun, and engaging things that she has done with Miss Tracy and all the student teachers as well. Like, it fills my heart with joy for the moments that I can't be there because I'm going to work, and being a role model in that way for her as well. But not only knowing that she's safe and learning, but she's truly loved and she's having amazing experiences. And as a parent, I would want every parent to feel that
Yeah.
and have that security.
Was
And I'm
it-
very grateful for it being provided by the partnership between the YMCA and Duquesne University.
Was it, yeah, I don't know if this is the right word, was it stressful in the beginning when you were dropping your kids off, going to work, juggling all these things? Did it, was it okay, sort of that moment when it finally arrived, or what were you feeling?
It was tough because I had my first child during COVID.
Okay.
And I bet that maybe the second lady can maybe relate to this. That time period, right, and you're like 3 months right out, and then you're getting ready to start going to daycare, and you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to turn my baby over.
Yeah.
But because we had already been there, knowing that Miss Joanne was downstairs in the baby room, we felt so good. That being said, I'm not always the one who handles it. My husband, who works at Duquesne University, and lots of the other professors at the university who drop their children off, I think, get to also experience that. And we're really grateful for that to be available through the Y, but at my husband's place of employment. It makes a huge difference.
No, I was going to say, I can definitely relate, especially, I remember the first day we dropped Harper off, Austin was like, she'll be fine, don't worry about it. And I was nervous all day, and I was waiting for the first phone call to say, how was her day? She was like, she was doing great. So I can
So
completely.
Austin was right?
He was. Don't quote me on that. Do not quote me on that.
That was off the record.
But I would love to hear, you shared your story, especially for other people who work here at Duquesne, to be able to have that childcare facility on site, and as you said, to be able to have that flexibility, and also letting you know that your child is in a good, safe place, but also for you to be able to focus on that too. Have you found that with your other colleagues as well too? Yeah.
So my husband is a
Yeah.
professor here.
Yeah.
Mike Van Stipdonk in chemistry, and I think we've got a number of friends who are in the center that also have parents that are on the faculty, and I think it builds a lot of camaraderie as well, I think, amongst the professors and staff members there. And it's fun for the children to then also participate. Like, we have an event at one of the football games where we have a tailgate, and we invited all the other parents who are also Duquesne members, and it just brings together another opportunity for more community. And I think that is the foundation that the center here provides, is a sense of community, and instilling that for children at a very young age, that it's important to be connected and care about others.
The fact that there's a child care center on site that employees can take advantage of is huge. We worked with the Early Learning Investment Commission along with the PA Chamber, did a survey of businesses, and found 8 in 10 businesses were facing challenges because of employee retention, because of child care issues. And so I'd love to hear from Rob, is that what you're hearing here locally in Allegheny County, or is that a problem here in the market that you've experienced as you've dealt with workforce?
Yeah, it's a problem all throughout the country, and just hearing these stories about childcare and taking the kids to daycare is nostalgic. I have a 12 and a 14-year-old, and so I'm a little bit out of the woods as far as dropping off the kids at daycare. But I can tell you this. When it's over, you don't get that money back. It just switches to something else. So that's true. A lot of folks are, yeah. So, but there's many different aspects to child care. There's the aspect of the worker, the aspect of the business, the person who's trying to advance in their career. Meaning, a mom who's who's getting a child care benefit, due to a benefits cliff, can't move it, has to think about how much money that, the family makes before they lose that benefit. Then you have, access and, where's childcare available? Is it close to my job or not? And so we're having a lot of different conversations with employers right now, because we understand it really needs to be a three-legged stool. The consumer itself, the employer, and to some degree, government and other entities helping to fund these things too. So the things that you all are putting in a budget are essential to kind of growing kind of our childcare sector here. And so when we're having these conversations, we're seeing places like the airport put childcare centers on site because they know in order to attract, future employees, they have to get in the game some type of way. And so we see employers talking about vouchers. Some, other employers are, building the childcare facilities on site. But it's definitely a concern for retention of employees and attracting companies and employees here to the region. Folks look at if they have young children, where I want to send my kids to school, where can I send them to childcare? And companies look at, the environment and same thing, schools, childcare, because that's what means a lot to their workers. And so we've seen also after the pandemic how there's a fewer amount of women who have gone back to work due to childcare issues and that have impacted their ability to go back to work also.
Robert, how do we get more companies to, create childcare spaces on their campuses? What do we need to do? Should we just send them over to President Gormley and he'll walk them through how to do it?
That's actually part of it, is actually getting folks in the room that have already done it. They need to understand that it's a value to their work, to their workers, but also this actually helps a business's bottom line. When you can retain employees, keep childcare fairly close, that's a good thing for business. It's pretty competitive market right now when it comes to workforce development. Workers have a lot of agencies to move around. There's flexible work schedules, things like that. And I think that you'll see a scaffolding of, employers getting more competitive around what they can offer to people, especially, with vouchers or childcare development centers in regards to, we have to beat out our competition, make sure that we can keep working.
It's a key part of it. And just one more question on this topic. We've successfully passed a tax credit for businesses who want to invest in their employees' childcare, for their employees to send their children, to some other facility. Should we be thinking about tax credits for incentivizing the construction of facilities on a business campus? And if so, how would you recommend we do that? Absolutely.
If space available, there may be space downtown here where, a lot of facilities can go. That extra incentive, just like the incentive for employees, businesses need those also. And so I think that a lot of different businesses will, take advantage of that, or it creates an opportunity for a few businesses to come together and say, how can we create some type of pool and, kind of solve all of our child care issues together, whether it be a sector or a geographic cluster.
To your point about that, we have, in addition to all of the things that the governor and I have laid out and the budget, we've begun to think more creatively about our space utilization needs as a Commonwealth. I think before COVID, we were, pretty standard. Everybody had to be in the office 5 days a week. We have lots of buildings across the state that were filled up. And I think as we look at how the habits have changed, we are not utilizing nearly as much space that we have leased. And so we've begun the conversation of how can we be more participatory in helping deal with the early learning challenges. And I know Secretary McNeil, the Department of General Services, is doing an overall space utilization study. So, we may have a plan in a couple of years about using some of the office leases and spaces that we have for early learning development centers. I think we recognize that it's going to continually be a public-private partnership to solve this issue, and we've put a lot on the table, but we're constantly working to do more.
And I think it's important to point out what you in your comments, Rob, mentioned it, is that families are working especially non-traditional hours. When we were out at Sheets, their childcare facility opens at 4 a.m., right? And so to think of, it's just like parents are working different hours. It's not a 9 to 5 anymore. And also, sometimes it's not parents, it's grandparents too. And so I think as we're talking to have the flexibility, but also the partnership of nonprofit business and government come together to say, we can really fix this issue, but how can we be creative and how can we all put our hands in the plow to do it?
Smart. Ms. Tracy, can we bring you in on this conversation?
Sure.
How long have you been doing this for?
Actually, this summer, it will be my 20th anniversary with this center.
That's amazing. So tell us how it's evolved over the last 20 years. I mean, this has not always been an issue that has gotten a lot of attention, hasn't gotten a lot of discussion in the halls of, power in the state, yet it is now an issue front and center, as you've heard from everybody here, from our educational institutions to our chambers of commerce and every place in between. And it's on the minds of parents, as you heard from the second lady, from the moment they announce they're pregnant. So tell us how it's evolved and tell us kind of the big challenges that you see right now.
So when we first started out, we were up actually in St. Martin's Hall in the bottom of the dorm. So the rooms were very small. We had 7 infants, 7 young toddlers, 7 older toddlers, and 15 preschoolers is all we could take. So we always had a very long waiting list because we were confined in such a smaller space. And then just before COVID, they had made the decision to sell the building we were in, and they decided to move us into this building. And now I can take 8 babies, 9 younger toddlers, 12 older toddlers, and 19 preschoolers. Wow. So we have definitely grown in size. When we first reopened, it was in the heart of COVID. So we had some really strong, loyal parents from the previous location that came back with us, but we also had some that didn't want to come back right away because they were worried about the concerns of having their child in the center. And the first year or 2 in this location was rough because we were shutting down the quarantine and the staff were out, and then we had to quarantine kids with them. And it was really hard to stay open that year. But as we got past that, we grew. We had started with 2 babies, 4 younger toddlers. I had the largest class. I had 7 older toddlers, and we had 5 preschoolers. And now almost every room is full. And we've really expanded our size because more people have started to come back, and they're not working from home as much, and they're coming down. But at the same time, I'm finding it hard. Not my students. 95% of my staff is Duquesne University students. All of my part-time staff is from Duquesne University, and I actually this year have 2 from the University of Pittsburgh who are willing to come down here and help us out. So most of the staff is part-time from Duquesne University, and there are only 3 of us full-time right now. My 4th full-time person, she resigned last February of 2024, and I've still not been able to replace her. Wow. So I have been doing, when I became director, before I was director, I was the lead older toddler teacher, and when I became director, I stayed lead older toddler teacher and director of the center. So I've been running a classroom and being director since 2022, and last year when my preschool teacher left, I also took on her responsibilities. So right now I'm director, older toddler teacher, and preschool teacher. So I'm running 2 classrooms out of the 4 down there and trying to be director all at the same time. And so my staff, Hannah stepped it up this semester. She's writing my older toddler lesson plans for me. Elena Fisher, she's writing my preschool lesson plans for me because they know that I need that time in the office as well to do tours for the new children and to do their files and to do everything else. So they're doing lesson planning for me. And whenever they can, they fill in the classrooms for me to give me that office time.
Can I? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, we feel blessed that you're spending time with us.
I know. It was a little tricky because I honestly did have a staff member call off today sick, and I was scheduled in a room, but we kind of got it going right now.
Do you need me to go to the classroom? I missed the little one.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you just highlighted all of the workforce challenges, and we're certainly doing a lot to address, from expanding the child tax credit to the retention and recruitment bonuses. But I'd love to know, is there anything more you think we can be doing from a state perspective that maybe we haven't thought of yet that could help alleviate some of the burden and help attract and retain more people?
I kind of think it might be like a help increase in pay, and not just part-time but full-time. Like, we're a Keystone Stars 4-star center. It's the highest amount of stars you can get. But with that, in order for me to have a lead teacher, they need a certain amount of years of experience, and they also need a degree. And some people who are graduating with degrees, childcare is not paying somebody who has a degree. they don't want it. And that's part of the problem is I can't get somebody in who fills that degree requirement because as soon as they hear the pay range, they're out the door.
Do you need a degree?
You do to be a lead teacher unless you're willing to get a CDA.
No, I'm asking you, do you feel like a degree is necessary? I'm asking you your opinion, not what the regulation.
No, actually, because my degree is actually not in childcare, but I do hold an infant and toddler CDA. I did go through the year-long program, and I renew it every 3 years. But I really think you don't have to know all the background to do it. You just have to have the heart. You have to be willing to show up and love those kids.
Yeah.
Like, I know exactly what Stephanie was saying. I know that Lily goes home every day and talks about me. They're gonna talk about, right now, we're focusing on our upcoming graduation in June. And I have 10 kids out of 16 that will be graduating this year. And so we have to start working on our songs now. And we're like trying to memorize, because they have to sing it by themselves in front of their parents, all songs. We have about 10. So they're working on trying to memorize those songs and be ready. But I'm walking them through the whole thing. And today, I did play the graduation march, and I called their names so we could practice that. And then I said, what's my rule? And they said, we take off our cap and gown before we have a cupcake. That is the rule. But with all this practicing, they said, where are the cupcakes? And I said, it's in June. It's in June. We're just practicing all this because we have to get it down. And today I shared with them, my oldest, she graduated from high school last June. So I said to them, they asked her, does she want to be just her first and last name, or would she like to be her first, middle, and last name? And I said, that's what I'm going to ask you guys. How would you like me to announce you? And I have about half that wanted first and last and half that wanted their middle name. So it's a lot like, I don't think, it's good to have that background and to know that stuff, but you can also learn it. We take, DHS requires us to have 12 professional development hours a year. So we're constantly taking new trainings, and STARS requires us to take more trainings. And so we do learn all that. And I think you kind of learn on the go, because Amanda's not even an education major, but she found her way in my door and she stayed. And she's learned the job. And it's just having that good team, helping each other to learn the job and to get that care.
And Amanda, what was your degree in?
I'm in PT, physical therapy.
Yeah.
Go on.
And yet you found your way here. Was it the professional credits, professional credit requirement that helped you gain the skills that you need? You obviously have the heart and the love for these children, but tell me where you feel like you best picked up those skills you needed for the classroom.
Honestly, in the classroom, like Tracy was saying, you learn so much from the kids, and obviously the accredited courses, they can teach you things about, hazards and safeties and stuff like that. But most of all, it's just learning from them and being in the classroom and getting that experience. I made my way in because I've worked in childcare my whole life, doing babysitting, nannying, summer camps. So this was just interesting to me, and I'd like to work in pediatrics in the future. So it's also nice to see the development of the children. I'm often in YT, which is the younger toddler room. They're 1 and 2 years old. So it's nice to see how they have grown and go to different rooms. But ultimately, yes, seeing them in the classroom really helps.
So would you, and I want to invite Hannah to comment on this as well. Literally, the first executive order that the LG and I signed was to do away with college degree requirement to work for state government, basically nearly every job in state government. And actually, over 60% of the people we've hired since that point don't have a college degree. Yet I think our staff is more dedicated and driven than ever before. I think these arbitrary degree requirements shut out people, which in your case have big hearts and a lot of love for kids, and it's arbitrary and it's wrong. We do know that we want to make sure we have people that possess the skills and the sort of love and passion for a particular type of work. How do we find a balance there? If we did away with the requirement of the degree, how do we make sure that we're getting folks in the classroom that still possess the skills and the love necessary to help take care of our kids?
That's a
By
good
the way,
question.
there are no right or wrong answers here. I genuinely want to know what you think.
It's difficult for me because I've always wanted to work with kids. There hasn't been an opportunity or a job that has interested me that isn't involving kids, so nothing would really change my mind. And like Amanda said, you do learn so much in the classroom. Like, my degree is in early ed, and the courses I'm taking are wonderful, but I've learned so much just working here. And I feel like I continue to learn every day I'm there from Miss Tracy and from the other teachers and the staff and the children. And so I really do think it's hard. It comes down, you have to want to work with them. And I'm not sure, I don't know. That was always in me, so I didn't really have to find it, but I'm not sure.
That's okay. Others? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is, what we're discussing, especially around arbitrary barriers, is a good space for apprenticeships. And when you can get someone who, has the heart to do the job, and you can put some curriculum around that, and scaffold them up into a higher level teacher, it definitely provides an opportunity for a lot of folks who, may not have that 4-year degree yet, but, want to get engaged in the occupation right away. I can think of someone like Tracy teaching a first or second year apprentice, showing them the ropes, as she's done with these 2 young ladies, is really kind of the heart of the real skill development. And like they said, they've learned in the classroom. They've learned by actually doing the job. And, I think that there's a lot of room for that in childcare.
And Ms. Tracy or Amy, would you be willing to take on more apprentices? Would you be willing to take on more, student teachers, if you will?
Oh, absolutely. We think it's a great entry point for YMCA employment, particularly with childcare. And also, the state has a lot of already oversight built into the system.
Yeah.
So I don't think, ensuring quality care is really going to be an issue because those systems are already in place. So it's just a matter of changing the regulation and what you're looking for when you're on site investigating, making a site visit. So that happens already, and it's already built in the system. So I think there's a great pathway that could be explored without the arbitrary requirement of degrees or 4-year degrees. We would totally support that.
Yeah, that's right.
We would absolutely support that and be a partner with the state in trying to figure that out.
That's right. And that may be something that ELEC Commission can study.
We absolutely could take a look at that. I didn't realize I didn't realize it until you were talking about that requirement, and it does seem pretty arbitrary. So we'll absolutely take that up.
We still want students to go to Duquesne. I just want to. Ms. Tracy, were you going to say something? No.
With that being said, in support of people who do pursue education, higher ed, to support a career in education, from a sustainability standpoint, do you think that it ever could be looked at to expand the student loan forgiveness program that extends to educators and public servants to include early child education?
Yeah, I think that's something, we could certainly look at that through FIA. I think a lot of the federal student loans are through the federal government, through the Federal Department of Education. But I think there are some things that we could probably do around FIA grants and Pell grants that we control at the state level around that. But I think it's something we should certainly take a look at. I was going to pivot to Amy real quick, because in your early comments, you had mentioned a program that's near and dear to my heart, the Boost program. And the governor and I created the Boost program last year. It was the first time that the state's ever made investments in after-school programs here. We're proposing a doubling of that program, I think, for $21.5 million this year. Can you just talk a little bit about what that funding's meant for the YMCA? Because I guess I know you guys were the state council was a pretty big awardee.
Yes, so our state council applied, as well as some individual YMCAs applied. So there's actually impact for the Boost program throughout the whole state of Pennsylvania. And as we're talking about early learning, all of the same things apply for out of school time for school age children, whether that's summer day camp programs or after-school programs. So parents rely on that care, quality, affordable, available care for after-school elementary school children as well. So a lot of violence prevention programs. We're seeing in those out-of-school times, conflict management being difficult for some of our school-age kids, particularly pointing back to COVID and some of the challenges that those kids experienced. And so equipping our staff on conflict management resolution, things like that. So I do think that we're grateful for the consideration for the increased amount, because we are serving a tremendous amount of kids across the state. And I do want to point out too, I was thinking about this when Rob was speaking, is in Allegheny County itself since COVID, we've seen a 50% reduction in providers for childcare. So I think there were a lot of childcare providers that were available pre-COVID that just don't exist anymore. And so it really does take that private partnership with businesses, nonprofits, and government to solve this problem.
You know, for that 11, just for people's record, for that $11.5 million that we allocated last year, I think there were north of $80 million in requests for that funding. So that shows you the need that's out there across the Commonwealth for good quality after-school programs.
What else should we know?
I could add, I also have my CDA, like Miss Tracy, in infants and toddlers. And when I got that in high school, my mind was set on working in daycares for the rest of my life. Like, I obviously wanted to teach, but getting that and working in daycares, that would have been my goal. And then I realized it's not going to be as beneficial pay-wise or just substantially throughout my career. And that's why, not the whole reason why I'm at Duquesne, but when I came here, I had many talks with the career advisors and everything about what I could do to work with kids these age that would offer more. And this is like the only job that fulfills everything I want to do. And it's hard because it's not giving everything that I feel like it deserves.
And that is part of the challenge, as Tracy alluded to, trying to recruit new people. We're competing with schools for teachers because of the requirements of the education and the years of experience that are required for early learning and out of school time are the same as teachers. And so we're competing for the same workforce as all of the schools.
How should we restructure
challenging. I think looking at those requirements for the staff is a good start, for sure. And then increasing the pay is always beneficial, which we've heard today.
We're trying.
Yeah.
We're trying. Hannah, when you talk to your classmates who are thinking about doing something with children, what are they saying to you? Are they excited to go into this profession? Are they worried? Are they concerned about money? Like, what are you kind of hearing? You don't have to name names here, but just like give us a flavor of what other students are saying.
I feel like I hear everything you say. I hear people say how much they love it and how much they would never do anything else. I've seen multiple people switch and drop out of the program and go to healthcare or the science or psychology just because of they're discouraged. That they haven't even gotten there, and they're just discouraged from hearing everything and hearing everyone talk and put such a, like, I don't know the word, just like a negative connotation on teaching in general. But I have, through my program, I do know so many people who are so dedicated to the children, and all they want to do is work with the children. And it's really nice to hear that and to know that I have other people that feel the same way I do and support me, and I have teachers who support me, and I can go talk to them about these things, and Miss Tracy. But yeah, I hear everything from everyone.
Are any of them saying, geez, I'm so excited for Governor Shapiro and Lieutenant Governor Davis's budget plan for child care workers?
I am.
Good answer. Look, that's part of the reason why we want to have this conversation, to learn and to make sure folks know what we're trying to do here, how we're trying to help, because we need more Hannahs out there and more Amandas out there who are doing this work to join Miss Tracy.
Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for taking some time to be with us today. These roundtables are incredibly informative, and if you could see all the notes that I've taken, we're really going to go back and dig in, particularly around some of the requirements for staff for child care facilities, some of the degree requirement stuff. And the certifications that you talked about really kind of seem like we should be leaning more into a certification model as opposed to a degree requirement. So, we are certainly going to take that work back in my office and at the Early Learning Investment Commission to really study that. I think the one thing I'd ask is that, we always strive to do everything in partnership. And so this budget is a moral document for us that we believe in. And we hope to have your partnership as we get into the nitty-gritty of budget discussions in June. Because I think one of the things is the governor and I are always out talking to folks like you all across the Commonwealth. And I think we have a very different perspective than other elected officials in Harrisburg, just based on where we sit and we kind of get a view of the whole Commonwealth. I think the folks in that building really need to hear your voices. And I think they really need to understand how critical this issue is for everyday Pennsylvanians. And I'm a firm believer that I don't think this isn't a Republican issue or a Democratic issue. It's a Pennsylvania issue. And it's something that truly everyone should be able to come together around the table on, because it's our children's future. And I don't think anything's more valuable than that.
I would just say thank you. I think especially to the child care workers and the YMCA, because I think, Austin and I, thinking about Miss Savannah, who's Harper's daycare teacher, and all the love that she pours into her, and thinking about the work that you do, especially you, day at the spa. But I especially, you guys do so much amazing work. So thank you for everything that you do, and especially to just make it easier on working parents. And so, as Austin said, I think the most important thing taking from this is that this is an administration of action, but we also want to empower other people to do that too. So contacting your elected official to tell them about your own personal story of being a mom and how important childcare is. But you also know other Pennsylvanians are struggling as well too. So I would just say thank you for everything you continue to do, and just know that you have advocates and fighters in this administration. Thanks.
Amen. Just a few comments to put an exclamation point on what the LG and Second Lady said. We are grateful for your participation here today. We're grateful for your work in this field from wonderful institutions like the YMCA and others like you across the state, institutional partners like Robert, to the amazing teachers, both those with experience and those who are gaining experience, and to the parents who not only need childcare, but rely on these wonderful institutions and people that do this work. So we thank you. And we are trying to be your partners as well, not just with dollars and cents, but we also heard you loud and clear on some of the reforms that might be able to make it easier, for a student, one of your classmates, Hannah, who's coming up to get into this field, take the burden off you a little bit, Ms. Tracy, and to try and just figure out ways in which government can be an aid in this process, not a hindrance in any way. So we're going to take a look at that under the LG's leadership of the Early Learning Commission. We will definitely do that and report back to you on that. We have also expanded, I think, Robert, you brought this up about apprenticeships. We've expanded the numbers and the types of apprenticeships all across Pennsylvania. We need more welders, and an apprenticeship for welding is really important. We also need more farmers and more childcare workers. And so we're expanding our apprenticeship reach into different areas. So I think that's an important thing for us to work on as well. And then just to finally say what both Austin and Blayre said, we need your help to get this across the finish line. I feel blessed to do this work. I know the LG and Second Lady do as well, and certainly my wife Lori does as well. It is a privilege to serve you. We are also in a unique position in Pennsylvania where we are serving you with a divided legislature. I think one of only 2 states or 3 states in the whole country with a divided legislature right now. What does that mean in practical terms? For us to get anything passed, for any bill to reach my desk for my signature, requires Republican votes and Democratic votes. To me, this is an issue, as the LG said, that really transcends party lines. But we need your voices in the ears of lawmakers, Democrat and Republican, to tell them how important these funding issues are, to give them your perspective as a parent, to give them your perspective of what it's like in the classroom and how challenging it is without enough personnel, to give me your perspective as a student. we really need your voices in this conversation. So I want to urge you to reach out to your lawmakers and let them know how important this issue is. This entire budget focuses on solving problems and getting stuff done. This is a problem that needs to be solved and an area where we want to continue to get stuff done. And we're really grateful for all of you being here today. So thank you to Kane for hosting us, the Y, and everyone who is here. We appreciate it, and we look forward to doing this work together with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, in appreciation of you getting stuff done, we had the kids do a couple of
That's great.
little take-home gifts for you. So we'll give these to you. And also, as a heads up, YMCA Advocacy Day is coming up on May 6th. So we will be en masse at the state capitol advocating for this and
Can't wait to see you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Everybody together just in front of the
Sure.
front here, and